Coming up on this episode of the Elite Recruiter Podcast.
I just wanted to cry every day, but like I just didn't want to get out of bed. I mean, I was super depressed, definitely overweight. I was like just, stress eating, not eating, 75 cups of coffee. Like I couldn't, like my brain couldn't shut off. Like everybody loves a comeback. And this is such a cool comeback story, but the comeback doesn't happen if you just give up. The comeback happens because I showed up and I was consistent and I didn't care about the results. I just knew in my mind I was going to win and I had no other backup plan. And I won and I'm winning.
Welcome to the Elite Recruiter Podcast with your host, Benjamin Mena, where we focus on what it takes to win in the recruiting game. We cover it all from sales, marketing, mindset, money, leadership, and placements.
I'm excited about this episode of the Elite Recruiter Podcast. The reason is because many times out there, you could be up against the wall with nowhere to go, playing credit card roulette, maxed out on loans, maxed out on payday loans, maxed out against the wall. Our guest today had all that, payday loans, credit card roulette, just putting stuff around, and only had $500 left in his account. And he had to sit there and make a decision. He literally drew a line in the sand, got some coaching, and in 1 year, everything changed. By the end of that year, he went from $500 in his account, credit card roulette, maxed out credit cards, to billing $800,000. The beautiful thing about recruiting is if you work recruiting, your life can absolutely change if you wanted to change. And that's why I'm so excited to have Randee on the podcast. So welcome, Randee.
Awesome, Ben. Thank you so much. I am absolutely honored to be here, man. It means so much to me. Thank you.
And I'm excited. Like the second Mike told me about your story, I was like, you know what? This is a story that's going to have an impact because there's been so many people up against the wall over the last few years. You know what? I believe that listening to you can absolutely make 2025 an absolute different year based on some of the things that you're going to share. We're going to talk about the point system, the gamification of building the business. But before we talk about all that, how'd you even end up in this world of recruiting?
Well, my goal was to be a professional baseball player. So that obviously didn't work out. So honestly, man, like truthfully, I fell into recruiting. My whole life, I was always been an extrovert. I credit that to my dad. He would take me everywhere with him at such a young age, and I would just be able to talk to everybody. I was working at a company called Bounty Jobs at the time, and that's kind of how I fell into learning what recruiting was, right? Because I never did that at all.
What'd you do at Bounty Jobs, by the way?
So I was an account manager. So what I did was I would onboard all the recruiting agencies that would come to the platform, right? I would have to sell them on the bonus of, the value of Bounty Jobs, what it brings to the table. Hey, more business development. You simply click this page and, you literally can recruit on anything, yada, yada, yada. And I remember I would talk to so many recruiters and I always had that entrepreneurial mindset because my father owned a auto body for 30 years. So I always figured out I always wanted to go down that path, but I just didn't know what. When I was younger, I was like, hey, maybe it's a tanning salon. And then thank God that didn't work out because the whole GTL thing is like pretty much out the door now from Jersey. Maybe it's like a laundromat. And then I was like, wait. And then obviously, over the years, I had a lot of great people around me. So then that's kind of how I fell into the recruiting thing was through Bounty Jobs. And I remember talking to a recruiter and he was doing nursing staffing. He goes, yeah, man, I just made 20 grand. I was like, what? Like, this is awesome. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, how'd you do that? He's like, I just placed somebody. I was like, wait, so hold on. So you're like a sports agent for the corporate world? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I just find somebody, place them, and this company pays me, 20 grand. So I'm young, dude. I'm young 20s. I'm like, that's a lot of money. So I'm like, wait, if I do 5 of those, it's 100 grand on my terms. That might as well be like $1 million. I should totally do this. So it was in the back of my mind at Bounty Jobs. And then, time came where I was there for 5 years. Loved it. Bounty Jobs was great. Got nothing but awesome things to say. Still talk to, a bunch of the people over there now. And that kind of brought me to the recruiting game. And I remember I moved back to Jersey at the time because I was in, New York. And I was like, all right, let's go. And I turned 30 and that was it. I remember I had a short stint at this other company for literally 6 months. Walked in on day one. It just felt horrible in my gut. I knew I made a mistake. Went back to my manager at Bounty Jobs. I was like, please take me back. Please take me back. He's like, no, man, I'll do you disjustice if I do. And I'm like, no, you won't. Take me back. He's like, no, trust me, something good will come out of it. I'm like, no, it sucks. I want to come back. So anyway, started doing the groundwork. My girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time, we were writing stuff down. Had an awesome friend, you know, in the fitness industry, another awesome friend in real estate, looked up to them, very successful guys, kind of started doing some mind mapping, writing stuff down. And I kept coming back to like people. And then I was like, boom, that's it. Like recruiter, let's go all in. Now, mind you, I never worked for an agency. So like I had no idea. Like I was just like, I'm going to work really hard and like just figure it out. Sitting on my parents' table because I moved back home at the time. I was like, oh, what's a name? And my mom, I was like, S something. She's like, what about S4? And I was like, oh, it's great. Like, cause I came from a family of 4. It was me, my dad, my sister, and me. So I'm like, that's awesome. So we'll do S4 search partners, and filed it LLC and got a printer. My dad bought me a printer from Walmart, and here we are 9 years later.
Off to the races. But okay, you knew about the industry because of you were selling to it, but you never actually did any of the recruiting industry stuff or came from an agency. How did you even start to learn what to actually do? Like outside of working hard?
Trial by error. And I would like talk to people. They'd be like, oh yeah, you just, you call this person, call the HR manager or whatever, say, hey, I want to fill a job, get a contract. I had no idea what a contract looked like. So I just Googled that, where like I had somebody send me one, like a mock one. And then I just kind of like, more like the Richard Bronson effect, right? Like just figure it out. And I just started going. And then I remember I used to work for this other company really well, started my career there. And like one of the guys called me because I still stayed in touch with him. He's like, Stats, like so-and-so just got bought out by so-and-so. He's like, you still doing that recruiting thing? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I need you to go after all their competitors. All right, cool. Yes. Awesome. I had no idea. I just knew that like this LinkedIn thing, which I wasn't really even that big on, like worked. And then like the cell phone and internet. And I was like, all right, like, let me just kind of go be a detective. Just started reaching out to people and kind of fell into it, man. So like I'm 100% at that time self-taught. Like I just am like type of guy that would like just keep going. And I think other people are going to bash their heads out and quit. And like, I just kept going through. I was like, this is kind of cool. And I feel like I could make a really good living because my theory was in life, right? You work till you're 65 and then you're lucky to get maybe 10, 15 more years after that. And that's when your life starts, right? And I'm like, dude, like, why am I going to do that? Like life is so awesome. And like, we're on this earth for a reason. It's like, let's make an impact. Let's enjoy every day. So like, I'm not going to work for today. I'm going to work to enjoy my life. So if I want to raise my hand to go to the bathroom, that's not really somewhere I want to work. If I want to cut out on a Wednesday and go get a haircut, I'm going to go get a haircut. Like, and that's kind of how I looked at it. And plus at my other jobs, I was like not challenged anymore because I was really good at them in a sense where like I'd finish the job in 2 hours and then it was like Groundhog Day. So I had to blow up my entire life and challenge myself.
Okay, you blew up your entire life. You jumped into recruiting. You started having success. Did you grow the company into more than just you?
I did. That fell into my lap. I was doing this big company that I used to work for. And this other gentleman reached out to me who, I connected with at that old company. And he started asking me a lot of questions. And he was like, yeah, like, what are you doing in recruiting? And I was like, blah, blah, blah. And then he ended up getting laid off from his current job. He's like, listen, I'm going away, but when we come back, we should talk more. And then me and him kind of partnered and we started taking over this company that we used to work for, just doing massive amounts of placements for them. Like that was our only client. So like we were doing like 75 fills a year with them, making a ton, we're grossing 500,000-600,000. And I'm like, this is like awesome. I'm like making good money, living my life, and it's like, dude, this is crazy. And then, as you evolve, right? Like I always knew that like business development was like, we needed it because no healthy business is ever good on one business, on one company or one client because, they kick the stool out from under you, you're dead. So we would try business development here and there, but like my theory was always, hey, like ring the register. So as we're bringing the register with this big client, we're doing really well. We bring out this other person. We take the head of the people out to dinner in New York City. And it was great. Like we got like sloshed. It was a good time. Like it was like good. And then I remember like before they were leaving, I was like, oh, by the way, what do you do about this? And like, oh, nothing. I was like, we'll do that too. And then like the guy that was with me was like, wait, like, how are we going to do that? And I was like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. I ended up finding this other person. She was phenomenal. She took that business to like a whole new level. She was just a technician. She did like 65, 70 placements. They were like drivers. Like, so it was like they were route drivers. So that's like a really hard, like kind of thing to do. But we were doing everything for like really low pricing, right? And it was all flat fees. And every time we would go get new business, we were lucky enough to really have our folks in this company that like they would feed us roles all the time. And we were just doing really well. And then, you know, as things go on, you get burnt out. Like I got into recruiting because, like I said, I wanted to truthfully help people and be able to live my life and enjoy my life. But more importantly, like just to help people all around and, you know, enjoy it, like make some value. And I got burnt out. Like I was sick and tired of doing the same role. COVID hit at the time. So me and this other guy, we just didn't have the same vision. We ended up kind of both going our different ways. And then I was supposed to get married that year. And then, you know, COVID hit. So the wedding got postponed to the following year. And then, you know, business was finally coming back. So we started redoing this again. And I just knew, I was like, man, like I got like grow this business. And I just didn't have time. Like, and I was so like in that like starter mindset of like running the register. And then, I had a friend to me reach out to me at that time and was like, yo, man, like I got like these 2 really good finance contracts. Like we should start another division. Like we should do a financial division. And I was like, awesome, cool. And like, it kind of was like the perfect storm, right? Cause like COVID ended, kind of first quarter there, did that year. And then like my wife and I, we got married. We're building that, you know, we bought a house. We were kind of updating the house. My wife gets pregnant. She works in New York City. She's leaving her job. So now it's like, all right, like now I'm like doing all this math in my head. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, sure. I'm like, yeah, we'll do that business. Absolutely. Like I got the groundwork. Like I got this. Well, I mean, it sounds really easy, right? In theory, ended up partnering with this family friend, opened up this financial division, and it was a nightmare. You know, I was involved, but it kind of started going against like stuff that like I kind of swore that we wouldn't do, right? Like we were doing, you know, paying everybody under the sun for salaries. We're buying every tool under the sun. You know, I'm giving all these roles to other people, which has been taking it out of my mouth. I'm worried about feeding everybody first. Nobody's, you know, I'm not feeding my family. And like, it just wasn't the right fit. Like we hired somebody that just wasn't good at all. He was 30 years in the industry and it was like absolute worst hire I think I've ever done in my life. And, you know, I had to take out a PayPal loan to pay him. We offered him $100,000, you know, just stupid spending. I was getting pulled away. You know, long story short, I think if you talk to people individually, they'll all have different stories. You know, everybody will point fingers, but I've always pointed the finger at myself. I've always been the type of guy where like, hey, at the end of the day, like I agreed to the decisions. I said yes. So the only person that I'm going to get mad about and hate is this guy, right? The guy in the mirror. So I blinked and realized that I'm funneling money from S4 to this other company. There's no money left. I blew out all my insurance policies. I have a 2-month-old. I moved into my house. All I want to do is cry. I have no money. And I'm like, what do I do now? And my wife goes, where's everything? And I said, it's gone. Everything's gone. I remember I was calling my parents. I almost had like I had a panic attack. I was like, it's all gone. It's all gone. And like I was screaming. And then I remember I resigned from the company, fired everybody, left, and was like, all right. I found a coach by the name of Mike Anderson, was introduced to him by a mutual friend. And that dude, I remember it was December 16th, 2023. I said, all right, man, like I got $500 in my name. Like, I just want to let you know my story. Like, this is where I'm at. Like, if you don't want to help me, I get it. But like, I got to do this for the next 90 days or like, I'm going to work at like, you know, Home Depot or something. Cause like, I don't know what to do.
Well, let's take a step back. Like, you know, before you kind of hit the wall and you realize where everything was financially, did you start to see writing on the wall that the money was disappearing, or did it kind of catch you off guard?
No, 100%. I saw the money writing on the wall, right? But like you're chasing that essentially, I guess, a high, right? Because you're like, I'm like, I know this is going to work. Like this is going to work. This is going to work. This is going to work. But yet we're paying salaries. And I never paid salaries out before. Like they were all, you know, so I'm paying people. They're not working. The worst part about the whole thing was like, I was the only one that really was successful in recruiting. So like I built the business up before. All these other people never been in recruiting outside of one guy. And he's not a good recruiter at all. So I'm paying these people. They're time vampires. They're sucking me dry. I'm only hearing about their problems. They don't care anything about me, but yet they only want to hear from me on the 1st and the 15th. And I'm like looking at the money and it's dwindling. And I'm like, I feel like the best way to equate this is like if you're a gambler, right? Let's just say you win 30 grand. Like you're going to keep continuing to chase that high, right? So I was chasing it being like, I know this is going to work. I did it before. I can do it again. Like, let's double down. Let's do this. Let's get Zoom info. Let's get all this other stuff. Like, let's double down. But like, in hindsight, I'm walking into this office. It's dead quiet. Nobody's on the phones. I'm the only guy on the phone and I'm working to fill roles to pay everybody else. And that was it. It just, I couldn't, I was so far in the hole and that company was so far in the hole that I had no other choice but to walk away because it wasn't a very good environment. It wasn't a successful environment. And I knew, that it was like, all right, like I got to get around people that are elevated, like not where I am now, but where they are. And I want to be the dumbest guy in the room because I know that's going to automatically elevate me and get me to where they are. So, I mean, I knew the money was dwindling. I just thought we were able to catch up and we couldn't. Our overhead was just ridiculous.
Okay. And before you actually contacted Mike, like when you sit there, you're sitting there, you payday loan or a PayPal loan, like you said, the credit cards are like pretty much maxed out. Looking internally, were you fighting any battles internally?
Yeah, every day, dude. I couldn't get out of bed. I just wanted to cry every day. But like, I just didn't want to get out of bed. I mean, I was super depressed, definitely overweight. I was like, just, stress eating, not eating, 75 cups of coffee. Like I couldn't, like my brain couldn't shut off. Like I remember there's a photo on my desk of me and my family for my son's first Easter. And like, you could see me smiling, but if you look close, like the pain behind my eyes, like I'm like, cause I'm thinking like this bill, this mortgage, this, that, like, I mean, just the fear of like not knowing and the fear of knowing that, hey, not only now am I responsible for my wife, but I'm responsible for a little boy that was brought into this world who was financially better off when he was in the womb than he is now. And it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to crawl in a ball and die? Or are you going to stand up and become like the phoenix and rise from the ashes? And I will say this, I've always had a determination and a drive that's always really been unmatched. I haven't met that many people that have that. And that was instilled by my parents. And that was a gift. And my dad always said, if you work hard, you'll be able to succeed. And, prime example, my dad owned an auto body. He wouldn't allow me to work for him growing up. He said, you got to learn what it's like to work hard. He made me go work for his buddy who owned a produce company. So I'm slinging potatoes down like 50 flights of stairs, going into diner basements, dropping off produce and, realizing what that is, right? Hard work. And that's, what's always been instilled in me. Even growing up, my grandmother, she would say, I come from a big family. Like my mom's one of 8, my dad's one of 4. And like all my cousins would like, they would open up the refrigerator and just look what's in it. And I was always the one that would be like, hey, like what's on top of that fridge? Like what can I get up there? I don't want like what's eye level. Like there's got to be more to what's in here. So that determination and drive was so instilled in me and it was born into me that like got me through anything in my life. But what we're talking about now, this has been the hardest thing professionally and personally for the last 36 months of my life. And it got me through it.
How did you fight that depression?
Small actions. So, I mean, I reached out to a therapist. I was like, dude, I got to do something here because this shit's not working. So I was talking to somebody and then small actions, like stop overthinking everything. Reached out to my buddies that were successful. My buddy's like, hey man, like get a piece of paper and put your phone on 15 minutes, block everything out and just get everything that's in your head, write it down, get the thoughts out of your head. And we call that a brain dump, right? And then like, it's amazing. I still do that every day. And then you get that out of your head and like all those negative thoughts are gone, right? Where then it was like, all right, cool. Like I could sit here and dwell on everything that's negative in my life, or I can take an action. So let me pick one thing that I'm going to do today that's going to move the needle a half an inch and then compound it, right? So compounding actions, compound action. One action is to another action. Hey, you know what? You can't afford to go to the gym. Go outside. It's 20 degrees. Put a coat on, get some fresh air. Like just feel that life, like feel life again. And then honestly, it was also like my wife's grandmother, like I would sit there and talk to her and she'd be like, listen, like, honey, you built this before, you can build it again. And she was right. Like nobody else built that outside of me. So it was like, I could do this again. I just need to come back stronger. And I still had like that one major client. So I was like, all right, like, let me see what happens. let me see, what keeps going. And then, it was like, you're right. Like you can build it and build it and build it. And then it was that. And then it was meeting, Mike and saying, hey man, like, and I knew, right? Like I didn't want to be a failure to my son and I didn't want to be a failure to my wife. But more importantly, like I also had a little bit of an ego because like I didn't want to fail. And those people that like I brought in that destroyed me, like I didn't want them to think that like, I didn't want them to win. So I was like, you know what? Like I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna make sure S4 is like known and that like they subtly see everything because it's like, hey man, you killed me, you stepped on me, you spit on me, you burnt me. But you know what the issue was? You didn't officially kill me because there was a pulse and that pulse in my finger got up. And that's kind of what drove me every day. Like that was my why. And then it just started, timing and preparation. I met Mike Anderson. Said, hey dude, I got, let's do it your way because my way's not working and we're going to do this for 90 days. And then I'm going to be able to walk away and know, hey, I gave it my all or no, it didn't work. And that was it.
Okay. So you called up Mike Anderson. You made a decision like, hey, I need to actually go do something about this. I need to make a massive change. What was some of the first things that you did?
He told me my entire business model sucked and destroyed it. Yeah. He definitely used nicer words. Honestly, I think prior to that, no, that was the second thing he said. The first thing he said was, dude, I can't believe you've been in business this long with what you were doing. Like you did not have a business. I was like, okay, but this is all I know, man. Like I didn't come from the agency world. Like, what do you mean? Like I'm crushing it. Like, what are you talking about, Mike? And the cool part about me is like, I am like a sponge. Like I don't have an ego. Like if you tell me, hey, Rand, like you're going to go to like Giant Stadium and pick up dog poo and you'll be a millionaire. I'll be like, all right, cool. Like what bag you want me to use? Like, I'll just go do it. Like, I don't care. Like, I know just hard work eventually pays off and I'm coachable. Like I knew that like Mike was an animal when it came to billing and whatever he's doing is doing something right. So like, I'm just going to go do that. And if I apply it, it's got to work. Or it's not going to work, but one way or the other, I'm just going to take action. So the first thing we did was we went over what's a good client. So a good client was, hey, one, are they 20% or higher? Do you have a 90-day guarantee? No money back. So like a refill or whatever, you never give money back. And do they pay in 30 days or less? What makes a really good client is, have you done multiple deals with them? If they're 19% and they have the rest, not a good client. They have to have regular, meet the standard parameters.
Did you get like a deal early on that was coming in under 20%?
Oh yeah. Cause the business that the major company I was dealing with was like, they were like 10% fees, man. Like they were like, it was crazy. It was their flat fees, but they're like 10%, I think like 7%, but I was doing such high volume. Well, he told me, he was like, no longer working with that company. I was like, yeah, but I have to pay a mortgage. He's like, doesn't matter. Like if you spend all your time working with them, you're going to stay where you are. Like you have to get out of your comfort zone.
So did you fire them or did you give them the new 20% and they said no?
So no, I didn't fire them. I didn't give them the 20%. I just kind of like stopped like doing the volume with them. I was like, kind of worked what they had. And then I just stopped immediately, like filled like whatever I had in place. And then I just started going after the new model, the new clients.
Okay.
And then
so, like you're sitting there, Mike tells you that you need to blow up your business. You need to make a bunch of changes. You can't accept any clients that don't meet these qualifications. You're looking at your favorite client that's been paying you a bunch of money. Where did your next 3 clients come from? I should say your first 3.
Well, I started doing this thing called business development, which I hated and was horrible at. And I was like, well, this is clearly an issue. I have to do this. So, Mike taught me the BD. We did a really cool, BD thing. And he's like, well, what would you do this? And I was like, hey, I'm Randee Staats. He's like, not horrible. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, your biggest commodity is this, right? He's like, you got to get in front of clients. He's like, everybody's going to pick up the phone. Everybody's going to send an email. But like the moment you get a bite, like if you can't get in front of a client, like you're never going to win. And this is the value. I was like, you're right. So, we crafted up this really cool email. It was really just me being myself. Like, and everybody asked me like, what's the email? What's the email? What's the email? Honestly, dude, it's simple. It's like, I'll tell you guys right now, it's simple. It's so simple. It's just me being me. Like I'm a golf guy. I love golf. So if anybody watches this, that's in New Jersey or tri-state area, hit me up. We can play golf, just not on the weekends because my wife will kick the shit out of me, but it has to be outside of that. But I'm a golf guy. So we crafted like a cool email. It was like, hey, you got the XYZ role open or whatever. let's fill it for you. Let me see if I'm really good. If I'm not, like, I'll go see if there's any seasonal caddy openings or something like that, right? Like something fun. Because like the biggest thing is like we get all these emails, and I get them. Everybody gets them. Where like at the end of the day, we're people, right? So there's no personality coming through. It's like, hey, Ben, how you doing? I would love to fill your headhunter role. My name's Randee at S4 Search Partners, and we specialize in blah, 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 blah. Like, dude, that's so boring. But like, I didn't know any better, right? And everybody does that. But it's like, no, be yourself. Like, Ben, what's going on, man? Dude, I saw you had a headhunter shirt on. Love it. Heard you got a 2-year-old. Love it. Love the background. Looks like you're into audio. Love audio too. Here's the deal, dude. Like, I'm really into all that stuff. More importantly, like, I want to fill your audio role, and I think I'm really good. But like, I want to hold my feet to the fire. So like, let me fill your role. And if I suck, dude, like, I'll literally go be a figure skater coach. I don't know, but let's chat later. Like, just be funny. Like, kind of like, just be yourself. And he gave me this really cool advice that was like, hey, like, if your gut is thinking it, like, you got to say it. And the biggest thing with Mike that I love was like you have these recruiters out there that like try to like hide behind stuff and like not tell, like, we always play our cards straight up. Cause like in our industry, whoever holds the information's gold. So like the more information you have and you're fully transparent to both the client and the candidate, it's so much value. Like if we're not bringing value, and we're just like basically saying, hey, here, Ben, here's a candidate. God, I hope they stick. Like, why are you paying the fee? Like, why are you paying 20%? So, Mike was like, you always just play your cards straight up, be honest, be upfront, be yourself, and like, you're gonna win. So started doing the BD thing. I got a hook with an engineering client and ended up landing a 25% contract. Ended up having a candidate that fit perfect for that person. And within 2 weeks of me and Mike starting the method, I billed $37,500. And I was like, whoa.
Okay, so literally, like, you have nothing to your name. Your wife is like, what the fuck? Excuse my language. You're like, what the fuck? All right, I trust you. I went and put in the work. And then 2 weeks later, after making it to the decision, literally, like you're saying, like, nothing I've done has worked. I need to make every change. A $37 fee, a $37,000 fee.
$37 is a tough fee, Ben. I don't know if we would be here today. So $37,500, and it was the perfect storm, right? It was talent meets preparation. It's a little bit of luck. I did everything that Mike told me to do. I, got the hook through the email, immediately got them on a Zoom call, did the face-to-face, figured out, what's going on. Do you use recruiters? Hey, like, is there enough meat on the bones here? Because, if you're talking to somebody like, yeah, we use recruiters. How many fills you do a year? Once a year. Well, they're showing no meat on the bone. What are we doing here? But, realized that there's steady consistency, built a relationship. The door was open just a crack. And then I just blew it open. I ended up having the candidate mixed and matched, submitted them the same day. That dude gets hired. And then boom, $37,500. And I was doing a method, truthfully, that I had no idea was going to work. Like I was like, I have no idea if this is going to work. Like, but I'm just going to take action and do it. Like I didn't question anything. He just told me to jump. So I like just jumped in the pool, even if I knew how to swim or not. And yeah, 37,500. And I started doing the math, right? So I'm like, dude, that's 6 fills with like the old company. And I just did 1 fill. And I was like, this is nuts. And then it just started giving me a little more energy, right? Action over compounding. And I was like, we got it. And then I just never stopped. I still do business development to this day.
Okay, I know the answer to this, but for those that are listening, do you do BD every day?
Every day. I have 48 jobs listed right now we're working on. 48 jobs. I did my business development before our podcast today.
You have 48 active roles that you're supporting right now.
Right now.
But you still did BD.
I'm still doing business development to this day.
How much BD are you doing every single day?
I'm reaching out to, on average, about 25 new people per day, and I'm doing 25 follow-ups. So we're going to say 50.
And you're looking at 50 BD touch points per day. Is it via a phone? Is it email? Is it videos?
I never once picked up the phone on a cold call to get their business. Not once. It was all through email. I hooked them with a really good, funny email or whatever. It was myself. And then boom, they responded. I always addressed what was in the email. And I said, hey, by the way, here's the deal, Ben. Like, you know nothing about S4. I know nothing about you. why don't we get on a call for 5 minutes, see if this makes sense? I'll answer all your questions. Boom, done. And then that's how we got on the Zoom call. But like, I never gave you like a cold call to be like, hey, never did that.
800K without a cold call, all email.
All email.
Are you recrafting all these emails, or is there a tool that also helps you out?
So this was one that Mike and I used, and I still use it to this day. I still use it. This is one email we figured out, thought it was good. And then it was like, all right, let me just send it out. I'll tell you how many emails I sent out total. Like, so it was just one email, man. And honestly, like the biggest thing is this, right? It sounds easier said than done, but the only way that I was successful, truthfully, one word, consistency. I did it every day. I still do it every day. And it's just a numbers game. Like that's what I really realized. Like, and I honestly don't take anything personal. So like I had a guy tell me yesterday, we texted him, he said, go F yourself. And I was like, so you're telling me you're not interested in the role? Does this mean you're not interested? Like just laughing. Like, it's like, whatever. So this year alone, 3,317 emails for outreach.
Awesome.
So it's just emails, right? It's just like me being me, personalizing it, being a person, right? Because then I realized too, the biggest thing was, it was like, all right, cool. Like everybody's insane. Like everybody has insecurities. Everybody has this, everybody has that. But like, if I'm reaching out to like the CBO of whatever, like that person could have good days or bad days, but he's also a person. So like, see yourself. And that's what it was. And then when I got a bite, I just tried to get him on a Zoom call and then took it from there. I've also said no to a lot of people, which was really, really hard in the beginning.
So, okay, you started having success. The things started working. The Mike Anderson playbook worked, but you still kept on the gas.
Oh yeah. Because dude, you got to realize I had over $200,000 worth of debt. Plus I had a tax bill I had to pay. Plus I had a PayPal loan. I didn't have any credit cards to my name because everything's were maxed out. So like I was in a position where like it was sink or swim. And like, I can't like, all right, cool. $37,000. That's great. That's gone, dude. That was gone 6 months prior. So it's like, you can't stop. And to me, I got addicted to the results, right? Because I was like, this is really cool. And it showed me, and Mike taught me a whole new side of recruiting of just different things that I never knew that like made recruiting fun. Because up until that point, it sucked. I was like, this sucks. I don't want it to be like this. But like, I started having fun and like started being myself and started not caring, right? Because like, I think the biggest thing with every recruiter is like, if you go through slumps, because we go through slumps, they all get stuck on the dollar amount. Oh, I mean, if I place this guy, it's 20K. If I place this guy, it's 30K. They're not thinking about like the actual person or the client. And if it's like, if you stop caring, right? And you're like, listen, like, as long as I do my job and I bring everything to the table and I ARPO and I bring the value and I close them, like, as long as you take hope out of the process, if they take the job or not, your client is going to walk away and you're going to walk away. I literally said that to a client today. I was like, hey, listen, like, this person's interviewing at XYZ, they want to wait till Friday, but here's the deal. Like, we've given them everything, at the end of the day, like, where they're interviewing. They told me everything. Like, we've met their number. Like, we've done everything so we can both walk away happy. Now, obviously, I don't know if that person can take the job or not, but like, and I've come to a point now where like, I don't care if they take it because like I've built so much momentum, so much funnel. There's so much in the funnel that like, it makes the job fun. And I know I did my job correctly. Like I brought value to the client. I brought value to the candidate and like, I'm good with that. And to me, the fee is just the icing on the cake. Yes, it pays my bills, but I don't go into every conversation trying to put a dollar on that person. I go into every conversation saying, hey, Ben, what's going on, man? Like, I know you get reached out by a million recruiters. Like, why talk to me, dude? Like, first, thanks for talking to me. Number one. Number two, like, what's going on? Like, why are you looking to make a move? Did you hear me? Literally what I just did there, Ben, did you hear anything about me?
Nope.
What did I do? I asked everything about you because that's going to open you up and that's going to allow you to talk to me and that's going to bring your guard down. More importantly, that's going to add value to not only me, you, and I'm going to use that information on you for the client to help them. I didn't answer the phone and be like, hey, Ben, my name's Randee. I work for S4 and I have a sales engineer position available. Are you interested?
Well, okay, 2 quick questions. I'm going to jump to something else. First of all, did you pick a niche or did you just attack stuff?
Just attack, dude. I attacked. So now what we do is legal, engineering, and sales. That's all we focus on. I attacked everywhere and I was like, whatever bites. Like, and we're just going to go into this. So I started doing, first job I did was engineering. I started attacking all engineering firms nationwide. Started, we're talking. It was like, oh, I had a friend that was like, hey, we need a lawyer. Can you do that? Sure, I can do a lawyer. I was like, oh, this was kind of cool. Let me do that. Started tackling legal. That's how I fell into my niche. But at the time, it was like, whatever I can ring the register and whoever I can figure out is a good client. Because I have to figure out who's good clients, right? I got contracts, but not all of them were good clients, right? Some didn't respond. So I had to kind of figure out and weed it through. But I did not pick a niche. I fell into my niche.
And what's ARPO?
Activity, rank, process, offer. That is the biggest thing for every candidate. I'm sorry, for every recruiter, right? So when you ARPO somebody, that's how you're going to find out when we're talking to them, right? What's the client's current activity? Are they interviewing? Why are they interviewing? What are they looking to do? If they're looking to move, what's their RFL, which is reason for leaving? Are they looking just to leave because of money? Because if they're just looking to leave for money, hey man, awesome. I can't represent you. Do me a favor. I'm going to give you a quick raise. Go ask your boss for a raise. If that doesn't work, call me in 6 months. They have to have a greater RFL than just money. Rank. Where does our current client rank within their other interviews? Have they had offers in the past? Did they turn down job offers? That's all the activity. That's all the ranking process. Where are they currently in the process? Are they currently interviewing? Do they currently in the final stages? Where are they? Boom. Can we lead them to an offer if everything makes sense? So it's all about discovery. It's all about asking questions, right? Because you want to go into every call with 3 things. 1, information. 2, information plus resume. 3, every recruiter's dream, information, resume, submission. But those are the 3 things you want to get into. And notice information's in front of everyone. And how do you figure out information? You break down it using ARPO, which is activity, rank, process, and offer.
You're having fun again. Is that because you gamified it?
100%. 100%, dude. And that was something we gamified probably the last quarter of 2024 after, figuring everything out. Mike, because I still coach with Mike twice a week. So literally, he goes, because I was getting overwhelmed and I started getting like, dude, what do I focus on? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, listen, we're going to give you a point system. And I was like, oh, what's that? And he's like, you're going to get 2 points for every submission, 3 points for every interview, and 5 points for every new contract. You don't get points for fills, because what the point breakdown does is in recruiting, right? And I think in any sales job, you always want to be filling the funnel. So if you count points for your hires, it doesn't really count because you did your job. You're filling your funnel. So the point system broke it down, and we wanted to do on average 40 points. So you want to hit 40 points a week, and you break that up, right? So I could submit you to, one client. I could submit you to 5 different clients. That's 10 points because I submitted you, one person to 5 different clients of the same job. So that's kind of how we broke it down.
And interviews, if a person's in like a 3rd interview at the same company, how does that count for points?
Always points. So anytime they get a new interview, it counts. Whether it's an initial interview, phone interview, final interview, you can always count those as points. So that's how we gamified it. And to me, that was the biggest thing, right? Because like when you're working from home and you're in a slump, like recruiting gets depressing really, really quick if you're not hitting anything. And I was like, all right, cool. And Mike said, he's like, as long as you hit your points per week, like this is going to equate. I was like, all right, dude, like I'm not going to question you. You've led me this far. So like, let's do it. And it's been a game changer because you gamify it, right? Like I always want to win. I have that killer instinct. Like I'm a dog, man. Like I'm going to fight. I'm a bulldog. Like I'm literally going to just keep fighting. So like, it's like, all right, I got to get my points. So that's kind of how it is. And we broke it down to the point, like once we started doing the points, we broke it down to whatever the dollar amount was. So we figured out that each point is worth an actual dollar amount. So like, I'll give you an example. Let's just say we figured out that like you got up whatever your revenue is, you divide that, you figure out whatever it is per point, right? So let's just use $500. So every point you make is $500. So then you think about it that way, right? Let's just say you did 2 points that week, 2 points today, you just made $1,000.
And because of the change in the points, you've actually measured out for this year how to get to $1 million year.
Yeah. So my points right now are worth $850. So every point I get, I make $850. Mike and I literally just did this on Monday. We broke down the points to get to $1 million.
For somebody that's looking at this idea of implementing points into their business, what's the best advice that you have to go about, or at least like getting started and changing their desk?
Simplify it. Take action. Just say, hey, listen, like here's my desk right now. 1, what's closest to the money? Like, so figure out what can close quick. And 2, just be like, all right, cool. Like I just want to start with 2 points. Like, let me just go get 1 submission. Oh, cool. boom, submission. Awesome. Now let me just move that person to an interview. Like just step by step. And the more you do that, the more it's going to compound into more and more and more.
So you're saying like they should probably start with a low point number and then grow rather
Yeah.
than.
I would say 20 points. 20 points is, I don't care if you're brand new to recruiting, like you should be able to do 20 points. You should be able to crush that within, you should, if you're doing it correctly. So I think 20 points is probably the best way to start.
And now that we talk about points, what does your day look like now when it comes to, on the track of being $1 million biller this year?
So I wake up, I started, my goal this year, and I'll tell you, I have this thing called the Big Ass Calendar, which is not a plug, but it's phenomenal. So my goal for this year is healthy and wealthy. So I'm implementing more gym time now that I'm able to do that. And then going into work, my emails are already taken care of because I swallowed the frog first thing in the morning. And then I get to the office and then boom, it's business development. I shut my phone off. I shut everything off. I have a Pomodoro timer and I do 45 minutes of just boom. Can I get my business development out? I gamified that because my goal is within the 45 minutes, can I finish? And then can I get to another task before that 45 minutes is over? So that's really my theme. Like I'm a gamified type of person. It's like, all right, cool. Can I beat my next stick? Can I keep beating myself? And then from there, follow up on any additional urgent emails, right? Client emails, candidate emails. And then boom, really the rest of the day is just dialing, making phone calls, talking to candidates, handling offers, doing searches, really just kind of that aspect of it. But I don't do anything until business development's done.
Okay. And when it comes down to like, everything that you're doing and everything that you're handling and having a new kid at home, are you sometimes struggling having like a tiny human at home while trying to like make sure you're handling all these things too?
The first year of my son's life, I was so mentally not there, right? Because like my business is falling apart. I'm trying to be the sole provider. I'm literally dying inside because I'm trying to figure out and rebuild this whole life. So the first year of his life kind of just flew by and I felt I wasn't really present for it. This has been a blessing the last year because I've really been able to be there for him. I am learning a balance of shutting it off. I'm not very good at that. I come home, I ended up getting an office. I'm in this really cool entrepreneur group and I ended up meeting somebody that needed to rent an office. So I got out of the house, which has been really cool because it kind of allows me to kind of leave work here, but I'm still getting home late, like 6 p.m., 6:30, because I just get addicted to the process. But I will say the last couple months when I get home now, kind of leave my phone aside and I say it's my son's time, right? So I'll hang out, we'll watch cars 40 million times, play with monster trucks, because I'm like, dude, I can make money on you for golf if you can get you to putt, And my balance is getting better. But being an owner of a business, right? Like let's call a spade. Yes, you don't care about the outcome, but you're emotionally attached to the outcome, and this provides for my family. So that balance for me is hard, and I think that's hard probably for every entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, we covered a lot. We covered like the gamification, how you pulled yourself out of the hole, the coaching, actually asking for help. Is there anything else in your story that you want to cover before we jump over to the quick fire questions?
Yeah, I think depression's big, man. I don't think people cover it a lot. And like, I remember growing up, like, it's like, this dude's depressed, blah, 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 blah. But like, it's a big thing, man. Especially in today's society, like the world's a place that's going to knock you on your ass, man. Like it's either going to kick you in the face. And like, I would say for the depression aspect, like you got to know that like everything is never going to be perfect. And when it is perfect for that one day, like take a deep breath and be like life's good. Like I remember sitting at my kitchen table, broke. And I just did that sigh and I was like, wow, like life's really good because I knew where I was going and I started doing the process. So I would say if you can't put your mask on first and really help yourself, you're never going to be able to help others. So whether it's getting outside or asking for help or reaching out to other recruiters or whatever, like, depression's definitely big. And I think that's something that everybody should be able to kind of handle and find your way to handle that.
Definitely a solid point on that because I've seen a lot of it over the last 2 years in the recruiting space. We don't talk about it, but I've seen a lot of it.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you've seen the last 24 months. Like, dude, we came out of COVID. Everybody and their mother wanted to be a recruiter or a realtor. You couldn't print money fast enough, right? Which was good, right? But then like for the ones that are still standing, it was like, all right, you have all these overnight shops that are doing stupid fees. But now, a lot of them are out. A lot of them failed. A lot of the good ones failed. Like the last 24 months, they like kicked the crap out of us, man. So it's like, block out the noise, block out the negative posts, block out the Facebook, and just keep your world, your bubble positive and focus on what you want to focus on, because what you focus on is what's going to grow. And that would be the best thing I would say. And that's what I did. Like, I didn't have news, so I didn't watch the news. I stopped reading LinkedIn posts about like how employers suck or whatever, right? Or the layoffs. And then I stopped reading Facebook groups about, oh my God, it's so hard out there. I stopped Googling, are we in a recession? And it was like, all right, like you can do that stuff, or you could just kind of be ignorant to it and make your bubble positive and make the world that you want to wait. Make the environment that you want to make.
Remember the old, I think it's like Zig Ziglar thing, you're like the 5 people that you're closest with and spend the most time with in the books that you read. I truly believe in the digital world that it's now your circle of 25, like the 25 most people that you see on the social media channels has almost as much impact as the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
It does, dude. And I cut out a lot of people for that too. And that's where I was lucky enough to say too. And I will say this, like I was able the last 24 months to get around a group of guys and people that like I could truly be myself around. Like Mike is my go-to guy. Like, yeah, we started as coaching. That dude's like one of my best friends now. Talk to him every day. Got around people that are successful. I was able to be myself. Like these guys to me, like you watch them do deals and it's like, yeah, you could do anything. Like you conquer the world. Like just being around that is infectious. It helped elevate me naturally.
Jumping over to the quickfire questions. And yeah, I'm sure because of the other podcasts that you've been on recently, you're getting a lot of questions. So picture this. Somebody listened to one of your podcasts that you've already done. They're asking you the question. This is their first year in recruiting. They got started January 2025. What advice would you give to them if they're asking you on like, hey, how can I have a successful recruiting life?
Don't look at the results, look at the points. Gamify it right away. That's been a game changer. And a lot of people reached out to me about that. The gamification of recruiting to me is like, that's what you have to get at. Like if you gamify it and you hit your points, like I guarantee you, as long as you're doing your business development, you're hitting those 40 points, 20 point weeks, like you're going to be successful because the results will come. Don't look at the fills, look at the points.
Same question, but for somebody that's been in the game 20 years, 25, 15 years, they're chatting with you like, hey, you've crushed it this year. I've built average. What kind of piece of advice would you have for me?
Block out the noise and be consistent. Go back to the basics. What worked for you when you were crushing it? What are you doing different? Are you tightening up your process? Are you ARPOing enough? Are you finding out, who your candidate's currently interviewing with? Who's your client up against? Are they copying you on resignation letters? Like go back to the basics that made you successful and write those down and see where you're missing. Listen, you have to pivot in this industry. Like you have to be a charismatic MFer in this industry because like everything changes. Like I just lost a contract last week. It's on hold for 2 weeks. I just did a post about it on LinkedIn, because they got bought out. They're redoing everything. And it's like, hey, give us like 3 weeks or whatever. But boom, right? That's about $150,000 out the door, which we built last year. That's on hold right now. Like, what do? The old me would have freaked out and be like, oh my God. Okay, cool. See you in 2 weeks. Like, boom, pivot to this. But you have to break down to your question, break down what they did in the past and made them successful. And I guarantee you're going to pinpoint and find a hole that you're not doing that you can go back to.
Do you have a favorite tech tool that you absolutely love?
Oh my God, absolutely. And they finally gave me a referral code. I plugged them in the first podcast. I'm a loyal guy and I get, called all the time for tools. 100% Sourcewell. If you're not using Sourcewell, use it. Sourcewell to me has been an absolute game changer because listen, everybody comes out with the new AI, new tools, right? And shout out to my man, Esteban. Esteban called me for a year and I was like, dude, I don't have time. Call me later. That dude called me one day. I was sitting in my garage. I was like, all right, you got 30 seconds. And he's like, well, we got a tool, blah, blah, blah. It does this. I was like, all right, so hold on. Like it connects LinkedIn, Loxo, which is my ATS, and all these other tools into one. And you just add them to the thing. I was like, yeah, it sounds interesting. He's like, you want to buy it? I was like, bro, I'm not going to buy a tool for 30-second pitch. I was like, give me 3 weeks, give me a trial, and I'll let you know if I'll use it or not. So we ended up doing that. And Sourcewell has been an absolute game changer for me. I absolutely love it. It allows me to do my email sequences. If it wasn't for Sourcewell, I wouldn't be doing my BD within 45 minutes because it would take like probably 2 hours. But I set up the email chains. It's all me. I create everything. I add you once into it and then boom, it just keeps going from there. So Sourcewell is my number one plug on any recruiting tool out there.
Send me the link. I'll make sure to remember, put it in the show notes. And if Sourcewell's listening, if you guys want to sponsor the podcast,
Yeah. Yeah. Come on, guys. Sponsor this podcast, man. They just sent me a mug. I wish I had it. I just brought it home.
Has there been any books that have impacted you and your life?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. I love Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's awesome. Big fan of that, right? Because you got to learn the velocity of money, how to pay yourself. My favorite book right now, it's been the biggest impact, Buy Back Your Time.
Dan Martell?
Yeah, it was a great book. Cool book. And then I'm a big fan of David Goggins because that like suffer mindset, because that's kind of what I do. Like that, how much can you suffer? How much can you get through? So his book was really life-changing.
Now, you've mentioned about having systems around everything and like the gamification, like what you do with the timers, like you've really built out a structure. Did you have all that structure prior? Or is that something that Mike Anderson helped you build the systems? And do you think those systems are why you've had so much success?
I had no systems. I am like a dog where he sees a red ball and he's like, bop, 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 oh, red ball, right? So like that's just kind of the energy I have. I'm all over when it comes to like tasks. I ended up getting a dashboard, which is in front of me right now. It breaks down my week. And Mike Anderson and the recruiter bill print is what brought me into, the process. Like he came into my business. I had no process. The only process I had was, hey, we have a bi-weekly recruiting call with the client to make sure that we're having communication. But outside of that, like I didn't know anything. So Mike 100% implemented processes that can be replicated, and that 100% changed my business. And you put that in with the consistency of me showing up every day, and that's why I'm sitting here today.
You said you also have a dashboard. Like, did you develop this dashboard?
No, I bought it off Amazon. So it looks like this. And I got it off Amazon. And basically, I break everything down, right? So like if I'm focusing on points, my submissions will be here. My total points for the week will be here. BD checkpoints, like I'll label it Monday through Friday. And then like tasks, current clients, what we're focusing on. And then I'll just look at that. And I honestly found that on Amazon. So I don't know who did that.
I think the one that you have is by Ink and Volt, right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Psycho. How do you know that? It's pretty good. I like that.
It was mostly so that way, in case somebody was listening to it, they know where to look for it.
Yeah.
I do homework on
That's
podcasts, Gus.
That's good. I like that.
So, you talked about the consistency, you talked about the work, you talked about showing up, you talked about like the gamification. Now, when you are going through those hard days or those shitty weeks, like you do all the work, is that what gets you out of it? Or is there something else that really just gets you out of the funk?
It's work in progress, right? Like I always have negative thoughts. I mean, today was like, I remember having a negative thought, I had a candidate that, said that the client no-showed the interview. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense, right? So I think what I've learned now is like, I can address it, dwell on it for 30 seconds and then go, okay, cool. Like, let's move on. But I've gotten to that place of really hard work. And honestly, like, because I built such a big funnel that I'm able to kind of just let it roll off my shoulders. But I'll be honest, and then you can ask Mike this, like Mike came out for the holidays this past year and I was like, dude, like, oh my God, like I just had the best year ever. Like, I hope I'm not a fraud. Like, what's going on? He's like, dude, stop. Like, you got this and you have the process and everything. So to your point, I do still, I think you have those insecurities and that's just a human emotion, but I've been able to kind of really have this even keel balance now that my track record has proved that, hey, as long as I do what I'm supposed to do every day and stay consistent, I will 100% be successful no matter what gets thrown at me.
Just kind of like with everything that you know now, the stuff that you figured out, the stuff that you've learned through coaching, let's pick this in 2 point in time. If you could talk to yourself at the very beginning of your recruiting career, right when you started for your first recruiting business with no experience, what would be the first piece of advice that you would tell yourself?
Don't take anything personal. Show up every day and be consistent.
Same question, but like, we'll say prior to sitting down with Mike, you're sitting there literally at your desk, at your computer, $500 with your account, you're negative $200,000 in debt. You now have a mortgage. You have a wife that's staying at home. You have a baby at the house. If you got the chance to sit down with yourself right at that point in time with everything that you've implemented and done now, what would you tell yourself?
You may think this is the worst time of your life and it is so painful and you were uncomfortable and you were growing. But I can guarantee you that if you do the work, you embrace it, that you will come out on the other side of this with people, results, and success that you can't see right now. That's going to elevate you to a completely new level. Not only make you a better business owner, but a better man, a better husband, a better father, and make you 10 times wiser than you are right now. So take the short-term suffering for the long-term gain.
And you said you believe you also became a better father because of this.
Yeah, because I could teach my son, because I've had adversity, but I can teach my son more adversity. It's such a cool story, right? Everybody loves a comeback. And this is such a cool comeback story that the comeback doesn't happen if you just give up. The comeback happens because I showed up and I was consistent and I didn't care about the results. I just knew in my mind I was going to win and I had no other backup plan. And I won and I'm winning. And it's cool to teach my son that, like, hey, Cole, you might fail, but it's when you fail in whatever you do, that's the biggest lesson. How are you going to react to the failure? You're going to put your head down and say, take me out of the game, coach? Or you're going to say, leave me in the game. I'm going to win. I'm going to learn from that. And that's what I've learned over the last year. And that's what I've learned from every deal, because I will not accept anything in a win that I wouldn't accept in a loss. And that's the biggest lesson I've learned. And that's something I can still even further in my son.
You've had a bunch of recruiters, and we've chatted about this offline like multiple times. You now have had a bunch of recruiters reaching out to you. They're asking about the gamification. They're asking about the point system. They're asking about the emails. They're asking about what you're doing for business development. With all these questions, do you ever wish that like the recruiters talking to you and asking you questions are really just missing out? Is there a question that you wish they would actually ask you? And if so, what would be that answer?
That's a great question. What did you do when you literally had nothing left and you lost all hope? What does it feel like to have no hope, to be in a very dark place? And how did you not go darker? And how did you rise up? Because I think for me, I could not be sitting here today. It could have got that dark, right? Because like, you think about everything, you're on top, right? And then you fall to the bottom. And I also think another question I could ask was like, hey, what's it like to see the real reality of people that you thought were your friends that when you fall to the bottom, they're not? And how does that shape you? And how does that mold you? Everybody wants to be your friend when you're on top and you pay your bills on time. But when you can't pay your bill and you got to juggle what to pay over this and that, who's going to be knocking on your door and who's going to be calling saying, hey man, you okay? Like you need help. You want to talk.
You're looking at $1 million year now. Where do you see the future next after that?
I'm going to grow. I'm going to expand. I don't care if you bill my company $1 million. If you don't have the right core values, if you don't have the right mindset and you're a cancer to your team, I don't want you. I want to expand this business, and help continue to grow this the right way. I want to be able to instill the recruiter Bill Print Anderson method. And I want to be able to have others be successful and be able to win. I just hired a gentleman by the name of Ben. And I said, what's your goal? And he said, my goal is to retire my wife. She works for like a DIFUS, right? She goes into bad homes. And he said, if I can do that, that's a win. And I said, all right, let's retire your wife. And I've been lucky to have him. Like he's a retired corrections officer. The dude's an absolute animal. You guys should follow him. It's Ben Marcus. It's a blessing to have him, but just his mindset, like we have the same mindset. It's like, let's go. Let's continue to push each other, and it's been cool to see. So I'm going to grow this with probably like 3, 4 people, 5 maybe max, nothing crazy, but I want to be able to, allow myself to continue to do what I do, but I want others to win the right way. And with the systems, there's going to be a lot of good success.
Awesome. Well, Randee, this has been an incredible conversation. So I'm really glad that Mike reached out and connected us. If somebody wants to follow you, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, you can follow me on LinkedIn, Randee Staats. You can follow our webpage, S4 Search Partners. I would also suggest check out Recruiter Bill Print at recruiterbillprint.com. I get a lot of people asking me, hey, what's the Mike Anderson method? Like that Recruiter Bill Print literally does everything. That's exactly what I follow to the T. I also do coaching as well. So if you guys ever want to do some coaching, we can do that. But it's a new world. It's a new experience I'm learning. It's pretty cool.
I haven't even jumped over to the coaching side.
Yeah.
So kudos on that. So, and one last thing, we've talked about a lot. We've covered a ton of things. Is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners before I let you go?
Never stop. Life is a journey. It's a beautiful place. You're going to feel uncomfortable, but I can guarantee you the most uncomfortable you feel now is going to push you to a whole new level that you're going to get to, and embrace being uncomfortable. Because the moment you give up and the moment you stop, that's when you truly fail. So if you want something bad enough and your why is strong enough, you need to push through it and see the long-term game for the short-term pain.
Love that. Well, Randee, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. We know that 2021, 2022 was just the golden era of recruiting. But after that, things changed for many people. Things changed for many firms. They changed for many people in the space. And I mean, you were against the wall. Credit cards maxed out, $500 left in your account, payday loans, PayPal loans. But you made a decision. You got help. You've got a plan, and you worked the plan, and your life absolutely changed in 1 year. It shows the power of what is possible in recruiting, but shows the power of what's possible with the right coaching and the right work ethic and the right direction.
Yeah, 100%. There's no magic pill. That's been the hardest I've ever worked. And I knew that. I was like, this year's going to make or break me, but I'm going to come out of this knowing that, hey, at the end of the day, it was all me. And it was a success.
And if you're listening to this, make 2025 the year that you put in the work, the year that you actually put in systems, and make it the year of abundance. Let's go crush it, guys.